Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us on time. And we are going to discuss a wonderful book, Clueless, at 30 on our landmark episode today. Today happens to be our 90th author interaction. This series we started during pandemic, and we are moving from strength to strength with all these wonderful authors who've been gracing our platform. And I'm Neeta Aneja, and I'm the founder of Trends Literature Series. And with me is Dia. She's the co-founder. Clueless at 30 is definitely a witty and honest account of the author's professional journey, light-hearted take on millennials, prevailing insecurities and challenges, and finding their way to the world.
So our author today is Shalini Prakash. She is an investor, author, and a curious cat. Her curiosity around social identity and human well-being led her to author her first book, Clueless at 30, which was released in December 2021. Let me tell you, it is a book that will appeal to every single person here. She's an investor in early stage startups and has mentored and worked with several founders. For her thought leadership in VC and startup trends, she was recognized as LinkedIn top voice in 2017 and was featured in the 40 under 40 in the alternate investments India list. She has a master's degree graduate from London School of Economics, LSE, MBA degree from Liverpool Business School, and Bachelor of Engineering from RVCE, Bangalore. Ma'am, you have such great achievements at such a young age. Congratulations. So welcome, ma'am, to our forum.
Thank you.
And so good to have you in our landmark episode.
Yeah, it's wonderful, wonderful to be here and interact with everyone. And I also see that we have people from all age groups and not just people around the age of 30, which is also truly for everyone. It is because I've been asked this question saying, do you have to be 30 to read this book? But it's really not because I think you can be clueless or feel stuck at any given time in your life, and this book works for all. So it's good to see a very broad, diverse audience today.
Thank you, Shalini. As Dia said, it's such a privilege to have you with us on our platform today. I am really intrigued when you call your book Clueless at 30 a self-care book. So tell us about your thoughts which were running your mind when you were planning to write this.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a very specific reason why I wanted to position this as a self-care book, and I will tell you, but I'll just give you a little bit of background to this. When I was so I come from a South Indian Brahmin family where I was always told I need to do you need to do like engineering or medicine, and so I come from one of those families, and then I did engineering, and I thought that was the blueprint for life because I went to a top college here in Bangalore, and then I was supposed to be sorted for life, right? But then when I joined corporate, I was start of my career with, a very good job to begin with. I was with Fidelity Investments, and, everything was great. But then, always something was missing. I always felt like, oh, I'm meant to do more, or I wanted to break free from this mold. And the question that really harrowed me down during that phase was really about, I did everything right. I followed the blueprint for life. Why aren't things falling into place? And why do I always feel like, something's missing? Because I thought, I've arrived in life, but clearly I was far from it, right? So I was so frustrated. So what I started doing was I started reading a lot of books. I started watching videos and saying, how do I go figure out what is it that I'm meant to do in life, or what's my passion, or what's my meaning, what's the meaning of my life, and so on. So I did all kinds of things. I shifted multiple jobs, changed careers, all with the hope that, I'll find what is it that I want to do. And it creates a lot of anxiousness, for youngsters, or it definitely did to me. And when I was looking for ways for me to break free from this feeling of being stuck in life, there was no real really one book that was actually telling me, how do I really take care of myself, right? I mean, there are these books which are telling you, oh, once you figure out your passion in life, you can go unleash your real potential. And I'm thinking, yes, I know that, but then I don't know what is my first step to finding out, my passion, or how the journey even starts, or what does it even look like. So, so this book is for all those people who are really sort of, feeling stifled and they want to break free, but then they don't know how to do this. And how do you actually really care for yourself? Because I think for younger generation, or for millennials today, or even the Gen Zs, we are all reading so much online. Oh, my friend has gotten into Harvard, or he's gotten into this 30 under 30 list. And then you feel like so shitty about yourself, because you feel and so much more in life. And then you realize that feeling doesn't end. You're 20, 30 or 40, you always feel like there's more that you can do, and that it creates so many anxieties and fears of different kind. And how do you really care for yourself when you're feeling so stuck and lost? So this book is really coming from that place of vulnerability and insecurities that most of us under these days. And even the most sorted person has these feelings, and that's what I was trying to say, bring out in the book, that it doesn't matter how successful you are, but there are wave of emotions that you go through. And so that's why it's about how do you care for yourself in your lowest moments.
No, it was beautiful. And I must say, it doesn't only stop at 40. Even at 50, 60, you can feel clueless. And I think it's a good sign. I think it pushes you to do even better and find your way through. So I think it never ends. Your journey never ends. And you need to read books like this to feel positive. Yes, you can kind of carry on from there. And you don't have to be clueless at 30, 40, 50. It doesn't stop anywhere. Your book is, as I just mentioned, it's quite friendly, it's witty, it's honest, straightforward. And I loved going through each and every page that you've written, each and every word that you've written. And definitely for those who feel stuck in life and struggling to find passion. So, but how do you feel personally, Shalini, about the response that your book's been getting? It's different, it's a different genre altogether. So how do you feel when people really come up to you and say, yes, I read it and I enjoyed it and it's making a difference?
I mean, definitely, it's very inspiring. You feel like, everything that you've put in to this book, is all worth it, right? But what's very interesting is, when I started writing, I thought I was writing to people in their mid 30s or, late 30s, perhaps, people who are slightly more accomplished and undergoing quarter life crisis. But then, once I initially started sharing my book for initial feedback and stuff, I further narrowed it down to maybe, I said, maybe it is also for the late 20s. But then, when I actually did the book launch at the Bangalore Literary Festival, it was filled with 20-year-olds, and I would have never thought that. I would have never imagined that, right? So I think the lot of appreciation that I'm getting has been so wide, right from 20-year-olds to 40-year-olds, right? And I think what's amazing is that I'm able to sort of touch upon different phases of life. Like a 20-year-old can understand the initial phase of the book, where I'm talking about, how does it feel when you're going to college and you're following the blueprint for life. And then maybe a 30-year-old or someone in their 40s are able to connect to, feeling bored at work, or, looking at their friends and, in their professional careers, they're able to connect with that. So I think the people who are able to connect to different phases in the book, which is great. And I think at the end of the day, what really matters is that, if you're able to make the difference to, even if it's a small group of people, but you're able to sort of help them navigate through this strange funk, right? Or this strange phase that all of us go through, which we are not able to explain. We are not able to put it in words. And one of the things that I've also tried to do through this book is try to keep it as honest as possible. And of course, to say it is okay to feel whatever we are feeling. And I've not tried to give yarn about, the 10 tips to feel unclueless or unstuck. I haven't really written that. And that's why it is also self-care, right? It's not about cheat sheets or, tips that you get reading this book. It's mostly about how can you take care of yourself better and not feeling shitty about yourself, while you're going through this. And maybe it's a beautiful phase, that you're clueless because the world's your oyster. So, so I think people are able to connect with a lot of openness and honesty, as you mentioned, and it is a very good feeling.
I like the way that you formatted the book. you've talked about different 4 phases of cluelessness. People need to read the book to find out about those, but maybe a little brief on those 4 phases that you've talked about in the book.
Yeah, so most of these terminologies are really coined by me. But the first phase, which is popularly known as FOMO, which is the fear of missing out, where we are going through these anxieties of like I mentioned about the glorified representation that we see on social media. My friends are like killing it, and I'm such a failure. Or your parents saying, oh, what the heck are you doing with your life? You gotta like go get that job and look at that neighbor's friend who's like killing it in life and bought their car and stuff like that, right? I mean, all these emotions that you go through. So the different kinds of FOMOs that you really feel. And then from there on, we all want to break free from this mold, right? And we all want better things for ourselves. So I'm saying from here on, if you want to move forward, you need to go explore different options for yourself or different opportunities for yourself, where I say, hey, you got to move to the sober phase, which is you go in search of better opportunities or better options for yourself. So, but then, and once you go to sober phase, try to highlight that, what, the grass is not as green as you thought it would be, right? Because when you go seek new opportunities for yourself, there are 100 other things that will go wrong, right? You have different kinds of fears that will come. You feel like you're totally screwing it up, or you fear failure. There are different kinds of anxieties that you go through. But the point is that there is no way that you can actually see the brighter side of these opportunities until you go through all of this, right? I mean, there is light at the end of the tunnels, and for that to happen, you need to let go of all the insecurities, which brings us to the third phase, which is the joy of letting go. Letting go of all the belief systems that is really holding you back. And most of the times, these belief systems are actually made up by ourselves, right? I mean, so the stories that we tell ourselves really matter in terms of how we are dealing with failure or success, or how we are really, dealing with, say, imposter syndrome, or dealing with, what other people are going to think about us, and so on, right? And so it's so important that we let go and unburden ourselves with all the stories and belief systems that we are carrying on our shoulder, because nobody really cares. Everybody is so busy with their own challenges and obstacles in life. Nobody really cares if you're a failure or not, and you have to like move through it. And which brings us to the final phase, which is mofo. From FOMO it becomes mofo, where you're really sort of moving forward and navigating through all these anxieties, and how can you move forward, right? I mean, and how we view ourselves and the approach that we take, that you can be a work in progress, or you can live a slash life, which we can talk about more in detail. But the idea is to say, hey, the small steps that we take really matter more than the big ones that we have to take. Because when you look back, when you're 60 or 70, when you look back, you'll regret all the things that you didn't do than the things that you did. So yeah, so I would encourage everyone to go take those small steps, which will lead to big outcomes towards the end. And then, yeah, so this is in a nutshell what the 4 phases look like.
Beautiful. And it's even more beautifully explained in the book. There's so much to read in the book, and I'm sure everyone will like it. You guys have a chance to win the book. You can subscribe to the channel. And once the video is there on the YouTube, it's already live. But when it's formally there, you can always put in your comments about the conversation we are having. And the best 3 comments will win this fabulous book. And the rest, obviously, can order on the Amazon. This book has been published by Rupa Publications. Wonderful book. Go check it out. One of my questions, one of my last questions before Dia takes over. I loved it when you quoted Elizabeth Gilbert from her best-selling memoir, and I'll read through it. And you've quoted this, that in this dark period of loss, did I need any justification for learning Italian other than that it was the only thing I could imagine bringing me any kind of pleasure right now? So right you are when you say that at some point of your life, you have to decide to cut out the noise. This statement of yours will definitely stay with me as long as I can remember this book, and as long as I remember this conversation with you. And and you've also mentioned that your signature creation is a way to express yourself, and it reflects your truest potential. So tell us more about it. I loved reading those lines.
Thank you. So I I think, when I went through this phase of, okay, you know what, I'm going to go form a community for people who are lost in life like me. So I thought I can find myself. Okay. And everybody said, dude, like you already have like a VC thing going on. Why would you want to create this? Go join, sign up for coaching or something, like get a coach and they'll help you figure out and, all of that. Right. And then, like a lot of these people we're really questioning what is the ROI on this experiment, or what are you going to do with all of this, right? And sometimes that all these questions, when you start, you're really actually also blocking all the opportunities that will really come out of it, right? I mean, some can be tangible, some can be intangible, right? I mean, maybe this is all that'll give you peace of mind. So what I did was I formed a community called Find Your Slash, essentially where I'm talking about creating multiple avatars, right? So saying, when you don't know what you want to do in life, or when you don't know that one thing you want to do in life, that one career, one direction, the idea was go do 5 things or go do 20 things, whatever rocks your boat, just keep doing it. Because if that is the only way that you feel liberated or you feel like you're moving forward, then go for it. And anyway, for you to be good at one thing in life, you need to do 10 things, right? So for example, if you want to be a successful wildlife photographer, you need to understand wildlife / technology / art / ecology / environments. There's so many slashes. So go collect all those slashes, right? Without knowing what is actually going to come out of this whole phase, which is also nothing but something called identity capital, right? It's all these identities or ours that you build without knowing what's actually going to come out of it. You have to go volunteer somewhere in Kenya, just go do it. Or, if you want to take a gap year, or if you want to take up an artist course, whatever it is, right? I mean, just go do it. Don't really worry about what is going to come out of it. And most times, all these small things that you have actually done is a investment in yourself, where, it might eventually get you a better job, or maybe eventually, go for higher studies or whatever, or maybe it will just give you joy. And that's all really matters, right? I mean, not all of us are at the liberty of quitting our jobs and, going and, following a passion. And some of us don't even know what our passion is. So we don't have that freedom. But, in those darkest times when you're feeling really stuck, all you have to do is those small things. And that's what's going to keep you going. Then do it without asking where this is going to take you. So that is really why I have, made those quotes. And, these small things that you do will give you a unique avatar. And then, you are like the signature creation of yourself, because the more unique adventures or experiences that you take on upon yourself, the more unique your personality becomes, because that really shapes the person that you become and you become your signature creation.
How very right. And it was so inspiring to read, and I could identify this with myself also. And I'm sure everyone present here and whosoever watches this video later will definitely identify this, and they'll definitely get motivated to find their signature creation, I'm sure. Yes, Dia.
Thank you. So, ma'am, this book is something that definitely everybody can relate to. The way it is written, it instantly made me connect to it. In fact, I found it so on point that it is as if you had grasped the exact feeling of something we've all gone through in life. You've written about the blatant truth of the confusion that comes in when we think what we want to do with the life and the thought process behind it. So I wanted to ask, did you interview people prior to writing this book, or was it solely based on what you experienced?
So I think one is definitely from my own experience itself. But then, as I mentioned, a couple of years ago, I found this community called Find Your Slash, etc. Right. So a lot of it also came from my interactions with all these people that I was meeting, because people that you think are the most sorted people, right? I mean, I used to have people, who could be designers to doctors to lawyers. I mean, these people look like the most sorted people, right? I mean, there was no need for them to come. So you realize that, it is not just you, there are several other people, irrespective of how good they're doing in their lives. there comes a point where they don't know how to move forward, right? Or what more to life, right? And a lot of it is also to do with the current generation that we live with. We all want instant gratification. We don't want to sort of go through the grind of life and all of that, right? So yes, I think it has definitely come from my own personal experience, as well as people around me, and my interactions through the community. And of course, a lot of reference points in the book is also from my experience with entrepreneurship, where I've met a lot of founders, I've met a lot of entrepreneurs, and everything looks bright and shiny from the outside, and that's really not the case, right? So yeah, I think it's a culmination of all these interactions with different people.
You're so right. In fact, I feel like the major thing that I loved about this book was the fact that it made me feel not alone when it comes to all of this. Like you said, I've seen people around me who have suddenly have all their life figured out, that they'll do this and then they'll do that. They have this path figured out. And this book made me realize that it's okay to take your time and to process things. I feel like it's something I would go back to just to consolidate my thoughts. So to my so to my next question. Before the question, I would like to read everybody some lines from the introduction of your book. So here it goes. Once you finish reading the book, you're going to become a maverick, an actual badass. Not because you would become the next Elon Musk or the next Van Gogh, but because you have changed your perception and attitude about everything around, including yourself. You will start caring for yourself. You will decide to take the high road. Maybe you would still be as clueless as before, but you will no longer feel worthless about yourself. So honestly, this is what made me dive into binge reading the book, because the book, it's not sugarcoating anything. It's honest, and it would appeal to, like I said, every single reader. The book felt like a conversation, a sort of conversation I would have with my sister. The book, it felt like it knew exactly what I was going through, and it is something, like I said, I would go back to just to process my own thoughts and calm down. So I wanted to ask, was it always your intent to write it this way?
Yes, to a large degree, because maybe because this is the investor in me, right? So I actually went around asking some of my friends, what is the percentage of books do they actually read, right, till the end? Because a lot of us buy books and we don't read it. And I was asking why, right? Why is that somebody would buy a book and not really read it, and so on? So of course, there was a little bit of data point in terms of what resonates, what doesn't resonate. So it also helped me figure out what should be the length of the book, and the kind of language that is used in the book, etc. Right? So yeah, I think it definitely came from these conversations, and of course, this is also my style of writing. So it is not very different. I didn't particularly write it. It really worked very well. The idea was also to keep it light and funny, and not really talk about this in like a hard way, like, of course, you all know this is the hard truth, but I wanted to, give this like a lighter take on what we are feeling, like how we are all totally screwed with whatever we're feeling, and there's no hope. And I'm saying it's okay, to give the lighter side of these emotions itself, and to keep it funny. And as you have read, there's also like a story which is going in the background, right? I mean, there's a story of me and like a couple of my friends, the couple of life decisions that we took, right from college. That's how the book really starts, with how college looked like, and we all chose different career paths. And if you see, like, you will always know somebody who's actually taken those paths, right? I mean, different paths that they've taken, and how it all still culminates, right? So there is a story, like what happens to all these characters in the end. So yeah, I've tried to sort of have like a storytelling element to this, because that really connects with an audience. And then of course there's a little bit of life gyan and learnings that come out through different interactions that I have with not just my friends, but also with entrepreneurs and people that I meet. So yeah, there was some thought definitely put into the way this had to be presented. And yeah, I'm glad it's working.
I mean, It's an amazingly written book. I mean, it talks about such an important topic, which would usually just, something, it would be something that would hit us randomly and it would be terrifying for a moment, but it is written in such a light-hearted way that everybody can connect. It really is an amazing. So, Mom, this is my last question for the day. So I'm in 12th grade right now, and constantly I have seen me and people around me feeling pressurized about the fact that we have to decide everything that we want to do in life right now. That is specifically because, till an extent, the society around us has conditioned us to think this way, that we won't be capable enough to face the world if we don't decide right now. So I really wanted to ask your opinion on that.
Yeah, sure. So, I have very strong views on this because I think there is definitely one size fits it all, right? I think all of us know this. And if you even look at you do research and stats, globally, there are very, very few people who actually stick to their line of work, in terms of what they've studied in the past to what they eventually end up doing. Because a lot of us think, okay, this is what we're going to be doing, and that's why we're taking this up. But then you'll realize that more than 50% of them are not actually doing what their initial qualification is. So what you do in such situations is, which I've also spoken in the book, is you follow something called MFD, right, which is make a mostly fine decision, right? So you may have a couple of options. You weigh the pros and cons of each of those options, right? And say, for example, if you want to do medicine to architecture to maybe pursue art, right? So you weigh the pros and cons, and then you see what is the end outcome, right? What is the consequence of each of these decisions, and if it is something that you can live with, just jump at it, because there is nothing called a perfect outcome, right? Or like a perfect career, because most times it is going to change. Like, for example, I started off as an engineer, and now if you ask me, hey, did engineering go completely waste because now you're in venture capital and you're also writing a book? It's got nothing to do with what you initially studied. But then when you look back, whatever you've studied will play a different role. It will give you a different lens, which will definitely help you in your career. For example, right now, because I'm in venture capital, what it really helps me with is, I look at a lot of tech investments, and I'm now not averse to technology, right? I may not be practicing as an engineer anymore, but then I am able to assess tech startups. It gives you a way in which, you break down problems, or you try and understand how this works and so on. When you look at SaaS companies or even consumer tech, right? So yes, now has it gone waste? No, I would say no, it's not gone waste. So what I'm trying to say is, I know a lot of people who study something else, but then they take something from it, which gives it a completely different shape and form over a period of time, and it never goes away. So yeah, you jump into something that that you're curious about and you're interested to learn about, and it is okay if you don't end up pursuing that over the long run, right? So I would say, yes, that anxiety is real, and it is true. You should not ignore that anxiety, but you got to just take a leap of faith, right? I mean, like like it's in your marriage or any job that you take, right? I mean, you take the best step forward, hoping for the best outcome, and you have to figure it out along the way, and it's okay, because there are always ways in which you can navigate across your career. And I know most people, like, even if you see, I know doctors like Ritesh Malik, who is the founder of Innovate, which is a co-working space. He is a doctor from AIMS. He went and did a co-working startup called Innovate, which got acquired. So there's no connection between what he studied and what he's doing now. So it doesn't matter. So I think I think you need to be very pragmatic about how you approach your undergraduate degrees.
I think it's important to take everything as a learning experience rather than a setback. So yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Dia. We have Mr. Vijay Shankar. He's an advocate. He wants to ask a question directly. In the meantime, I also have a question from Mr. Sudhir Kumar, Major General Sudhir Kumar. Dia, can you please read the question? We're really privileged to have him today on our platform. He wants us to ask his question directly.
Yes. So he's written, Shalini's incredible understanding of the human nature makes the book fascinating and intriguing. How does one take immediate control of one's mental and emotional thinking?
That's a that's a very tough question. But I think what I think really works is one is recognizing any emotion that you're really feeling, and sometimes you need to look at it from a person perspective, right? Like you got to take that emotion out of what you're feeling and how you can really solve for it, and then sort of just let it pass and not really stay in your head, right? I mean, the moment you're feeling like for example, if you're feeling very if your startup has failed, right? And you need to be able to recognize what you're feeling about yourself. If you're pulling yourself down, if you're digging a grave further down and pulling, you need to be able to recognize what you're feeling, and then how this is probably more detrimental to you than really getting you out of whatever emotion that you're feeling. It's important that you separate yourself from that emotion and sort of let it pass, especially when it comes to career. Like even in the book, one of the things that I've spoken about is something called a focused illusion, which is about how much emphasis that we actually give to happiness or to success itself, and how it really affects us mentally. So it's important that you separate yourself from that illusion of how much joy or how much happiness would success or achieving that end destination give, because it's always like a loop. As human beings, we always crave for more. That's how we are wired. Say for example, if you think, oh, I'm going to feel happy if I get into AIMS, or I'm going to feel happy if I get this job, or I'm going to feel happy if I get into Harvard, right? I mean, we always keep setting these milestones and we're living this milestone based life. I mean, I'm all for milestones, but as long as you're not associating your mental and emotional well-being and associating happiness to that, right? I mean, you treat milestone as a milestone, and happiness is a state of mind and not an end destination. So it's important that you're able to separate yourself from that emotion. And I think that's I would say that it's more like a hack, but I think it works. If you're able to detachment, there's this famous saying, detachment in attachment. So if you're able to healthy balance for that, I think you can be sane.
Lovely answer. And it was a very, very important question. Mr. Vijay Shankar, please. He's an advocate with Supreme Court and High Court, and he's a regular on our forum. And he has a very, very interesting question. Yes, Vijay.
Good evening, ma'am. Many congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I have a question. What are the dimensions of cluelessness? I mean, there are people who are very successful and they have committed suicide while doing fairly well in their lives.
Yeah. So I think from what I feel is, one is definitely the societal pressure that comes, right? With it could be parents or your friends, and a lot of times I also realize that it is self-inflicted, right? Because you feel that you need, like I feel that even today, even after writing this book and all that, right? And if I feel like, oh my God, if I stuck to that job, I would have done better. Oh, maybe I'm an utter failure. Oh, I'm 10 years behind. So we're always feeling this about that. But then you realize that whatever you're feeling most times is also self-inflicted, right? Nobody probably is telling you all these things. These are things that you're telling yourself, right? I think in most cases when you're feeling clueless is, and especially in this younger generation, right? I mean, a lot of us are born with means now. If you look at early 20s, earlier when our parents used to work, it was all about getting a job and having a secure future, right? Now all of us seek more. We all have like more that we want out of life, and most times we don't even know what we're looking for, right? I think that is where the frustration really comes, that we are not able to really apply ourselves mentally or intellectually. We're not able to apply ourselves anywhere. And I think that is why this is so rich. Like even today, I think I was reading, on Instagram, I was reading Ananya Birla talking about she woke up 4 times the previous night because she had a panic attack. Okay. And what the panic attack was, just like, oh my God, I'm born with so much, and what do I do with myself, right? I mean, it's really nice that she's actually opened up about it today, where she's saying, so this is real, right? I mean, a lot of people are going this, and she's saying, I'm born with so much, I'm running $1 billion enterprise, and I'm pursuing my passion in music, and I still had this panic attack. But then when you see, what's really nice is, what I earlier explained through focus illusion is, you recognize that it is just an attack, and you sort of let it sail, and you don't really do anything about it, right? So if you're feeling really so emotionally low, or you're digging you're digging down a hole further, then stop digging that hole and get out of it, right? I mean, that's exactly what she has probably done through that post that she's put out, saying, I recognize this and I try to snap out of it, right? You got to snap out of it. And we need to accept that, we are born, I mean, at least the current generation, they're born with so much more than what our parents had. And, these issues are real. Having more is a problem these days. And I guess it's all about, like I said, you need to recognize it and let it go, and understand that these things are real emotions.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I wish you all the best for future endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vijay, and I hope you get a chance to read the book sometime.
Yes, I'm sure.
Definitely, ma'am. I'll read the book and I'll also comment. Thank you so much.
Do comment. The best 3 comments on the video definitely will be getting the book, and others, as I mentioned, can always order on the Amazon link. And this has been published by Rupa Publications. What a wonderful conversation, Shalini, we've had today. It'll kind of really left us inspired and motivated. And I'm sure inspired everyone to read the book and think about whatever you mentioned today, and definitely carry it further with the book. So any last takeaway you would like, from the book to be known to people, something that we missed out talking?
No, not really. We pretty much, covered everything. But I just like to leave with one of my favorite quotes, which is very, all of us want to do extraordinary things in life, right? I mean, we're all, you're feeling that you're leading an ordinary life, but all of us want that extraordinary life. But the question really is, how many of us are really willing to take that extra step out of the ordinary to lead that extraordinary life, right? I think it takes a lot more than you think. It needs sacrifice, it needs multitasking, to juggling, to failure, to mistakes, right? But how many of us are actually willing to go through all of that for that extraordinary life? Because we all need to take that extra step. And I'm just also ending this with my favorite quote that it is not the mountain ahead of you that is really wearing you down from climbing it. It is really about that little pebble in your shoe that is not letting you take that step forward. It is never the mountain of dreams that you have in front of you that you're afraid to take. It is that little pebble. So all of us need to take that little pebble out and throw it out from our shoes, and take that step forward and embrace everything that is out there, and keep moving forward.
Wonderful. I mean, it has been so wonderful knowing your perspective today. And thank you for being on our platform today. It was such a pleasure to have you with us on our very, very special 90th episode. Quite a bit of a tongue twister, I always say. Yes. Thank you everyone for being here today.
Yeah.